My name is Chris Campbell with Craig & Pike Insurance. Thanks for joining me to go over this presentation of the employee benefits that are available to you as a newly hired employee at the Siegel Group of companies. Along with this presentation that you're viewing, you also should have received via email a copy of the Employee Benefits Guide for 2022 from the Siegel Group. Everything I'm going to talk to you about in this presentation, plus much more, is available within that benefit guide. Also, on the back of the benefit guide is a listing of the different insurance companies that your benefits cover, such as Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield and Mutual of Omaha. Contact information such as their websites and phone numbers available so that you can call them or look up information such as participating providers, claims issues, etc. within their websites. You also have contact information for Craig & Pike. We're the insurance consultants that work directly for you and the Siegel Group to get the most out of your employee benefits. So anytime you have a question or a concern about your benefits, maybe you get a bill in the mail from a doctor, a lab, a dentist, you're not sure whether you should pay it, or you're having trouble getting a prescription approved, things like that, please contact Craig & Pike at the information listed in the back of your benefit guide, and we're happy to help you resolve any issues that you might have with your coverage. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. As a newly hired employee for the Siegel Group of companies, your benefits begin first of the month following 60 days of employment. To be eligible for employee benefits, you have to be a full-time employee working an average of 30 hours per week every week. Once you're enrolled in benefits, you can also enroll your eligible dependents, which includes any legally married spouse, domestic partners, as long as you are registered with the Secretary of State as registered domestic partners in your state. Then any children under the age of 26, whether they're your stepchildren, children under your legal guardianship, also are included in this. As long as they're your kids and they're under the age of 26, they can be covered under your plan. As a new hire, you're going to make your elections as of your eligibility date. Once you make those elections, you're locked into them until next year's open enrollment. The only exception to having to wait till open enrollment is if you have what's called a qualifying event. Qualifying events include things like marriage, birth, adoption, divorce, loss of other coverage, the kind of things that could happen anytime throughout the year. So let's say you get married, you want to put your new spouse on your insurance. You can do that in the middle of the plan year. Loss of other coverage is important. So let's say you have insurance with the Siegel Group, but your spouse, your kids, they have insurance through some other plan and they lose that insurance for any reason. You can come in and add them to the Siegel Group plan with no gap in coverage. Just keep in mind that you have a 30-day window of opportunity to process any type of qualifying event. So if you get married today, or your kids lose that other insurance today, you have 30 days from today to come in and make sure that they get added onto your plan. If you miss that 30-day window of opportunity, then you've got to wait until the open enrollment, which comes at the end of the year. So let's start with our medical insurance. If you live in the state of Nevada, you have 4 medical plans to choose from. There's 2 HMO plans and 2 PPO plans. If you live outside the state of Nevada, you still have 2 really great PPO options to choose from. For those of you in Nevada who are considering HMO coverage, HMOs can be a great way to save money and keep your costs down accessing healthcare. But just keep in mind that there are some very specific rules around HMO plans that you have to follow. First of all, you'll have a designated primary care physician. So that could be internal medicine, family practice. For children, it would be a pediatrician. Ladies, you can have an OBGYN plus a family practice or internal medicine doctor. You could have 2 primary care physicians, but you're going to have a designated PCP or PCP office. Anytime you need care that's not an emergency or urgent care, you have to go to your primary care physician first. If you want to see a specialist like a cardiologist, dermatologist, things like that, you must get a referral from your primary care physician first before you're allowed to see the specialist under the plan. So just keep that in mind. Everything starts with your PCP. Also keep in mind that the HMO plan does not cover you outside the state of Nevada except for certain life-threatening emergencies. So, if you are on the HMO plan and you're in California or Florida or wherever, and you just have a normal illness, you're not going to be covered under your HMO out of state. But let's say you have a heart attack, or you get hit by a bus, or you fall off a bike and break your arm. Those are things you can go to the emergency room for, and you would have coverage under the HMO plan for those types of life-threatening emergencies. Now, under the PPO plan options that you have, those rules kind of go out the window, right? So if you're in Nevada, you have options to 2 PPO plans. If you're outside Nevada, the 2 PPO plans are what you will choose from. With the PPO plan, you can go to any doctor you want anytime you want. Now, when I say that, keep in mind that there are 2 kinds of doctors. There's in-network and there's out-of-network. You must stay in-network to get the highest level of benefits, to get the in-network benefits. And as a patient, it's always your responsibility to make sure you're staying in-network. So if you get a referral to another doctor, make sure you check the website, make sure you look online. You can call Cragen and Pike, we'll look it up for you. Make sure you're staying in-network, that's really important. Under the PPO plan, you also have national coverage throughout the United States. So you can see doctors in all 50 states. If you have kids or family that you are covered under the plan that live outside of Nevada, the PPO plan would also be a great option for you because of that national network. Here's a benefit summary for the first HMO plan option. So when I talk about HMO plans, again, remember you've got your primary care doctors you have to go to first before you can see a specialist. On this option 1 base HMO plan, you have a calendar year deductible of $1,000 per person, a maximum of $3,000 per family. So if you do have family members under your plan, the deductible per person will never exceed $1,000, and the total deductible per family will never exceed $3,000. Now keep in mind the deductible does not apply to a lot of the day-to-day things you think about. So like office visits, lab work, urgent care. You're not going to pay the deductible, you just have to pay the co-pays. The deductible comes into play on the big ticket items, things like MRIs, emergency room visits, hospitalizations, things like that. That's when you have to meet that first $1,000 deductible. The out-of-pocket maximum is $6,500. This is your worst case scenario if you or a family member were experiencing any type of catastrophic illness, injury, etc., where you're in and out of the hospital, surgeries, huge claims, all of your co-pays, your hospital expenses, prescriptions, your total cost is capped at $6,500 for the year. Now, while that's still a lot of money, it's significantly better than unlimited out-of-pocket expenses. You're not going to lose your car or your house over medical bills because you've got this cap built in to protect you within the plan. You can see on this plan it has a $30 copay for primary care office visits, a $60 copay for specialists once you get your referral. Having your blood drawn and tested at the lab is free. X-rays, $30 copay after your deductible. Now, complex x-rays, things like MRIs, CAT scans, CT scans, it says 20% after your deductible. Down below, hospital services are the same thing, 20% after your deductible. That means once you've met your $1,000 deductible, you will then end up paying 20% of the insurance company's contracted or discounted rate with that provider. So if you went to get an x-ray, like an MRI, and you've already met your deductible and the costs or the discounted rate is $500 for an MRI, you'd pay 20% of that, basically $100, right? If you went to the hospital and you were in the hospital for a week and they ended up paying $20,000 for that, your 20% would be $4,000 for that week in the hospital. Keep in mind you have that $6,500 out-of-pocket maximum. So if I was in the hospital and had a heart transplant and the cost of it was $300,000, normally 20% of that would be $60,000, but because I have my out-of-pocket maximum, my worst case scenario for that heart transplant is $6,500. That's where that comes in to protect you. Back up top, you can see urgent care, $60 copay with no deductible. So if it's after hours on the weekend, you need to see a doctor. Also, I point out that preventive care, things like annual physicals, well baby checkups, OBGYN wellness exams, mammographies, pap smears, colonoscopies, things like that. As long as they're truly preventive in nature and your doctor codes it correctly as preventive, those are all covered for free 100% under your plan. The next plan is option 2 HMO. So if you're in Nevada, this is your second HMO option. You can compare these plans side by side. I'm not going to sit here and read every copay. I've already explained to you how that works. This plan is just a little bit richer plan. It has a lower deductible, a lower out-of-pocket maximum, lower copays, just overall a richer plan. So you will pay more out of your paycheck for this plan, but when it comes time to use the doctor or the hospital services, you'll pay less at that point. So just an option to pay a little bit more now, but save money at the doctor. Pretty useful for those of you that go to the doctor rather frequently. Now, these last two options, option 3 and option 4, are the PPO plans. So if you live outside Nevada, these are the two plans that you have available to you. If you're in Nevada, these are 2 of your 4 options. So mentioned with the PPO plan, you can go to in-network or out-of-network doctors. Remember, on the HMO, you can only go in-network. There is no out-of-network coverage under an HMO. With the PPO plan, it's a much larger list of doctors, hospitals, et cetera. It's a national network, so just a lot more options and freedom when it comes to accessing your care. Now, with that, it costs more money because it's a richer plan, and having access to those doctors makes it a little bit more expensive. But if you want the freedom to go to any doctor you want, this is a really great option for you. So our first plan is a PPO plan. It has a $2,500 calendar year deductible. And again, the deductible does not apply to a lot of the things you care about day to day, like office visits, lab, x-rays, urgent care, etc. The bigger ticket items like MRIs, CAT scans, inpatient, outpatient hospitalizations, it has a 20% coinsurance, similar to what you saw in the HMO plans a little bit ago. You have an out-of-pocket maximum of $6,350. Again, that's your worst case scenario if you're in network under these plans. So you can see these copays. They're fairly comparable to the base HMO copays, but just under a PPO platform, giving you a lot more flexibility in accessing different doctors. Finally, option 4 is the kind of the platinum plan, the best plan that you have access to. It's a PPO plan, has a much lower deductible, lower out-of-pocket maximum, just a much richer plan for you to choose from. So if you want the best plan that they have, option 4 is definitely the one. That doesn't necessarily mean you need it. So keep in mind, if you don't go to the doctor very often, it might not make sense to invest in a plan that's expensive like this. But it's good to know that you have access to a plan such as this one. It's a great plan, option 4 PPO. Now, prescription coverage under the different plans is different between the HMO and the PPO plans. So if you're in Nevada and you choose one of the HMO plans, the coverage will vary depending on which pharmacy you go to. So level 1, which is pretty much the CVS pharmacies, you'll see you have a deductible and you have copays for the various types of prescriptions. Level 2 is Walgreens and other pharmacies where you can still go there, but you have a higher copay or higher out-of-pocket costs. Tier 1 is mostly generic medications. That's about 85% of the kind of prescriptions that get filled. With these generic medications, you have a $15 copay under level 1, $25 under level 2. Sometimes generic prescriptions are a lot cheaper than that. They might be $5 or $6. In that case, you're always going to pay the lower of those costs. Tier 2, which are preferred brand name medications. Tier 3 are non-preferred brand name medications, so they're drugs that kind of do the same things, but they're just a little bit more expensive. You can still have access to those. You're just going to pay a higher out-of-pocket cost. Tier 4 is typically reserved for what are called specialty medications. So these are the types of really expensive medications, typically injectable medications that people take. These drugs could be $20,000, $25,000 a month. Or more, some of these medications. So in that case, you have a 30% coinsurance up to a maximum of $500. And you'll see Tier 2, Tier 3, and Tier 4 have a deductible tied into the prescription plans. Keep in mind, prescription costs, deductibles, and copays all still apply towards those out-of-pocket maximums that you saw listed in the medical plans earlier. Now, these copays are all what are called retail copays. That's what most people do. You walk into the pharmacy, you walk out with your 30-day prescription and go back. If you're on any type of maintenance medication, something you take every single day, it could be like diabetes, high blood pressure, cholesterol, you can use the mail order program. You can get a 90-day, 3-month supply for 2.5 times copay. So you save about half a month's worth of copay, and you get the prescriptions shipped right directly to your house. So a great way to use mail order for your maintenance medications. If you're interested in using the mail order program, please contact Craig and Pike. We can give you the instructions on how to do that. Under the PPO plan, you can see some advantages here. The copays themselves, they're still level 1, level 2 between CVS and Walgreens. The real difference here is there's no deductible. So there's no prescription deductible on tier 2, 3, or 4. Otherwise, the copays are similar and the program works the same. That's on plan 3. Plan 4, which is the richest of the PPO plans, again, no deductible, just slightly lower copays on your pharmacy prescriptions. So again, just a richer plan, that plan 4 PPO plan. If you're on the HMO or PPO plans and you live in Nevada, if you're on the PPO plans, you've got access to all local hospitals. If you're on the HMO plans, the St. Rose or Dignity hospitals are not contracted on the HMO plans. Of course, this is for Las Vegas, Southern Nevada area. Outside of Nevada or outside of Southern Nevada, there's still a huge list of hospitals and providers that you have contracts with, especially on the PPO plans. So again, make sure you check which local hospitals in your area are contracted, especially if you have to use the emergency room or something like that in the future. All right, let's talk about dental insurance. So again, we have dental benefits through Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's a dental PPO plan, so you can go to any dentist you want. But again, we always recommend that you use an in-network dentist to get the highest level of benefits. You'll see in the schedule of benefits, you have a calendar year maximum of $1,500 per person. So what that means is you, your spouse, your kids, whoever you put on the plan, each one of you gets a bucket of $1,500 a year to spend on your dental care. Preventive services like exams, cleanings, most of your x-rays are covered at 100%. So you can walk in, walk out, and pay nothing under that program. Basic services like oral surgery, fillings, root canals, endodontics, periodontics, things like that. The plan will pick up 80% of your cost. You only pay the small 20% coinsurance after you've met your $50 deductible. Then on major services like crowns, bridges, dentures, the plan pays 50%, you pay 50%. At the bottom of this slide, it says, please request a pre-treatment estimate for any service greater than $300. All that really means is anytime you go to the dentist and they're going to do something that is not covered at 100%, we just recommend you get a written estimate of what they're going to do and what's going to cost. Kind of like when you take your car to the auto mechanic and get an estimate on getting your car fixed. We really recommend getting that estimate on getting your teeth fixed because dentists do a lot of different types of repairs, different types of procedures, a lot of cosmetic procedures, sometimes things that aren't covered by your insurance. And you want to make sure you know up front exactly what they're going to do and what they're going to charge you for that. That's why we think getting that estimate in advance is important. We have vision insurance through Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield. So with this, you get an eye exam once every 12 months. You get glasses or contacts, one or the other, every 12 months. If you choose glasses, you get new frames for your glasses every 2 years. Your eye exam's covered at 100% after a $15 copay. And then if you get glasses or contacts, you have a $15 copay towards those. You get a $130 allowance towards your contact lenses, which means if you choose contacts, you get as many boxes of your contacts you want, up to $130 worth. If you want glasses, you can pick any frame in the store you want. If it's $130 or less, it's free. If it's more than that, you get a $130 credit towards those frames and then a 20% discount off the difference. A couple additional benefits. These are voluntary benefits. So these are benefits that you would sign up for and pay for through your own paycheck. First is voluntary life insurance. So if you want a little bit of life insurance to leave behind to take care of any final expenses or leave some money behind for your loved ones, you can do life insurance. Right now, as a new hire, is the best time to do it because you get what's called guaranteed issue, which means you can get a certain amount of life insurance with no medical questions asked, which is a really great time to do it because if you waive it now, come back later, then you've got to answer medical questions down the road. If you do voluntary life insurance for yourself, you can get it for your spouse or your kids as well. The cost of life insurance varies depending on your age and how much insurance you want. So when you go through the enrollment process, it'll give you the quote on those different costs and rates. Short-term disability insurance, this is like paycheck insurance. So if you get sick or injured and you can't work for an extended period of time, short-term disability is going to replace part of your paycheck so you can keep paying your bills until you get back up on your feet. So with the Siegel Group's voluntary short-term disability program, benefits begin 0 days for an accident. So like if I'm in a car accident today and I can't work starting today, my benefits can start today. If I'm sick, I got to be out at least 2 weeks. So after 14 days for an illness is when short-term disability will kick in. Once I have a qualified disability, it's going to pay me up to 13 weeks. And so every week I'm going to get a check. The check is 60% of my weekly income up to a maximum benefit of $1,500 per week. So you're out on disability, you might get a check for 2 or 3 weeks. You could get a check for 13 weeks. It just really depends on how serious that disability is and how long you're out of work. 2 other additional benefits. These are called supplemental plans. They're kind of intended to layer on top of your medical insurance. The first one is accident insurance. So accident and injuries happen every day. You might fall off a ladder trying to change a light bulb or paint your house and break an arm, or your kids might sprain their ankle playing soccer, things like that, and you have to go to the emergency room or urgent care. Well, you have insurance for that, that's fine. But what about your out-of-pocket costs? What about your deductibles, your co-pays, things like that? Those can add up. And with this accident policy, Mutual of Omaha will pay benefits directly to you to help cover your out-of-pocket expenses. With critical illness, again, it's a supplemental benefit. If you're diagnosed with one of the critical illnesses you see listed here on the screen, things like invasive cancer, heart attack, stroke, etc., you can get a lump sum benefit of anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000, depending on which benefit you elect at your time of enrollment. Keep in mind, there's certain things that are covered, there's certain things that aren't covered, pre-existing conditions, for example. So please make sure you read through the fine details of these programs before you enroll. And there you go. That's the end of our presentation. To enroll, please follow the instructions in your benefit guide to enroll through the Siegel Group. If you have any questions about any of these benefits, either before, during, or after your enrollment process, you can go ahead and contact Craig and Pike at the phone number listed here. It's also in your benefit guide. Again, thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation. I hope you have a great day.